Hello and welcome to Genius Hack.
Welcome. It's
Episode
Tuesday.
whatever it is at this point.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a milestone. We've made so many that we don't know anymore.
We forget what we're on. That's somehow a good thing.
That's not laziness. That's a sign you're doing good. Doing good.
Is that what that is?
Shh. Yes.
Great show today. We have a really interesting interview later on today.
Yeah.
We will be, basically we're talking about Eirsat-1. Mm-hmm. We will have Professor William O'Connor on to speak to us today about Eirsat-1.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic interview. It was really enjoyable.
And so exciting to see Ireland kind of taking part in, I suppose, like a space race of sorts.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a race at the moment because we're all doing
anybody.
different things. But like to have our name out there and to be doing something so meaningful, it's really exciting.
It's like it's a space race. We can't lose because everybody wins.
Yep.
It's like one of these modern nobody can lose space races.
Yeah. Like those claw machines, those win every time claw machines.
There's win every time claw machines.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally sweets or like a really rubbish keyring that's probably broken as soon as it comes out of the thing. But it's still the gratification that you won something.
Barely a claw machine.
Yeah, but it's still a gratification that you won.
But it's not. It's just being handed something. It's a present.
Actually, little side note, I'm kind of great at claw machines. Like, I have like unrivaled determination. I decided I wanted to get this little Christmas wolf from a claw machine across the road, and I got it. I decided I'm getting that wolf. I'm getting that Christmas wolf. And my friends were like, "Don't waste your money." I was like, "No, I'm only going to do it once. I'm going to get that wolf." What did I do? First try, got the little Christmas wolf with the little Christmas candy cane, and I was the happiest gal walking home.
But what you didn't know was that was one of those win every time claw machines. You never had a chance. No, I've never been very good at them. I don't think I've ever won a claw machine.
I'll hook you up.
Okay, I need and over the next coming weeks, we'll do like a Rocky montage.
No, the background. We'll get a shelf. We'll get a shelf, and the background will just slowly grow.
Every week will be prizes I've won on claw machines.
Yeah.
I am absolutely just imagining though, like this whole Rocky montage that we do over the course of a few weeks, like this training montage.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, you know, the stereotypical, you're there in a tracksuit with a towel around your shoulders, and I'm there like trying to work out how to do this claw machine and somehow breaking it. And
yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
I think it would be beautiful.
It will be. So we've got that. We have that interview later on. Fantastic. We've also got some news towards the end of the show.
Yes, we do.
And we've got some interesting facts to kick us off as well.
We do, and kind of because the interview is based around Eirsat-1 and satellites, I decided to find like a few satellite-y facts. And one that I came across is actually going to be really interesting and kind of ties in with something that we talk about in the interview about like the size of satellites.
Yeah.
Sputnik 1 was about the size of a beach ball and took about 90 minutes to orbit the Earth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I thought that was very fast.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, I literally know zilch about space travel and speed and things like that. So I just assumed the world's quite large. Flight takes a long time.
Yeah, it's a big old ball.
Yeah, like it takes a fair while to get to Spain or Portugal or something like that. So I figured it would take a fairly long time to get all around the Earth kind of thing. And no, 98 minutes.
That's unreal. That's extremely fast.
And I mean, it's like, sure, Jesus, what are planes doing?
Yeah. Well, we had Concorde for a while, didn't we? That was extremely fast.
Yeah, I wish I
death.
got to go on that. Now it's on a roundabout near Heathrow.
What?
Yeah.
There's actually a Concorde?
Yeah, there's a few Concordes left. I think a couple of them are in museums. Now, I don't know if it's still on a roundabout in Heathrow. But I remember I was in London and I had to go from one airport to another, or one terminal to another, I can't remember. And I was like, why is that rainbow? Why is that rainbow? Why is that airplane on that roundabout, Daddy? And my dad was just like, that's Concorde. I was like, what's a Concorde? And that whole conversation ensued.
Oh, I see.
There you go.
Now, there's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
And hopefully you learned a fact there too.
Yes. But this was, about 10 years or so, so it might not be on a roundabout anymore, but it definitely was.
Possibly. So it had basically become like roadside art.
Yeah. And I think there's another one in a French museum, as far as I know.
Ah.
I want to use Concorde. I want to fly by Concorde.
There is none of them at all in operation anymore, is there? No. They're completely gone.
And we have nothing similar either. Come on, let's get on that now.
Why did they do you know why they stopped them?
Oh, there's an awful lot of conspiracies around it, to be honest. Like,
It was too fast.
like, no, kind of like, it's like, oh, it was the Americans that stopped it. Oh, it was the Russians that stopped it, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like eventually it was just like, oh, it was unsafe, but apparently it's a kind of bogus reasons, and yeah. So I'm kind of wondering why it hasn't. Like, there must be some genuine reasons.
They're spending way too much of their time. They're working towards light speed travel, so it's like, we're not going to bother with
Essentially,
Concorde.
I think, yeah. When actually, I think maybe it was like patented and as well, and all this. We should do a whole episode on Concorde. I think.
I think we should do an episode on like aeronautics and stuff in general.
And
like
conspiracies.
Yeah, definitely at some point. Oh, of course.
I love
You
conspiracies.
can't do a science-related show without at some point going into the realms of like sciencey conspiracy stuff.
I love them so much. I'm such a sucker. I will fall for nearly every conspiracy except flat Earth. That's where I draw the line.
Well, see, my whole thing with, because we're talking in the realms of satellites here anyway. Like there is a Japanese satellite that takes pictures of the Earth constantly. Like it's every. Is it like every 90 minutes? 90 minutes keeps coming up in this show, but it's regular basis anyway. It takes repeated pictures of the Earth, and it's the furthest out that we have a camera basically that can take photographs back at the Earth. I can't think of the name of it now off the top of my head. I'll look it up now in a minute. But it takes photographs, and the argument a lot of people who are flat earthers make is that there's no full photographs of the Earth. It's all composites.
Yeah,
it's not true. This takes a full photograph in one go. And even the argument of, they're composite shots, that doesn't mean they're not real shots. Like if you take a panoramic shot on your phone, that's what that is. That's composite shots side by side.
Yes, yeah.
So what you're seeing in front of you, okay, it's not the actual image, it's not one image, it's a
but if you put them all together,
yeah, but it's because most of them aren't far enough away to get the entire globe in one picture.
I see. Or because it's flat.
No. It is, to be fair though, it is one of those things in terms of like modern science conspiracies and stuff that I've never really understand. I don't get the flat earth thing, to be totally honest. Because it's
gotten kind of trendy as well recently.
It has, because a lot of celebrities have come out and said they're flat earthers, and especially in the States, a lot of like American footballers and basketballers and stuff. And yourself, obviously sports people are big. They're big figures. They're public
have
figures.
A lot of influence.
Yeah, so if somebody comes out, if you're a fan of a certain sports star and they come out and they say, I believe the Earth is flat, a lot of people will then start going and looking into it, and hopefully the majority of people look into it and realise, we've known for a very long time the Earth is a ball.
But I mean, like, the main thing, like, I'm a little bit disappointed
that the Earth's not flat?
A little bit, because I mean, how cool would the end of the world be? Like, if you just like sail right off it into an abyss or space or something like that. Like, I mean, that would be kind of cool. So I mean, it's a globe is so boring. Like, we can go round and round. Cool, that's fun.
How can you consider like a massive, unbelievably large globe hurtling through space boring?
I'm spoiled.
It's like, this isn't interesting enough. I want something different.
Exactly,
what about a big chain of balls that are part of a much bigger chain of things all hurtling through space at the same time?
You can't sail off the end though.
No. But I
or
think
walk off the end, even better.
I think it would be cool, and we'll possibly do some sort of a thing like that, where we look at things like that, like flat Earth. And I think what would be great would be to look at it from a fair point of view. Look at like what the evidence is presented.
Yeah, look at both sides, because I mean they do have some like evidence. Like it's not a stupid fight. Like they have their own facts, and it's like, okay, kind of like I can see where you get this or why you'd believe this and things like that.
The operative term in what you said there is they have their own facts.
Yes.
But no, I think it would be interesting, and it would be good to look at it from sort of both perspectives. In terms of like, well, okay, is there any possibility that this could be factual?
Exactly.
So look out for that in the future.
Yeah. Another little fact here, that in the 16th century, going back a long, long time now, older than me.
Really?
Yeah. I know, I look great for 306.
Yeah.
I moisturise.
That's some skincare routine.
Or vampire, who knows?
Or that, yeah.
In the 16th century, the word satellite meant an attendant on a person of importance.
So they'd float around them.
Yeah.
I get that. That makes sense.
Because I mean, like, you also get satellite fish. you get
And
them.
satellite towns.
Yeah, because like with the fish, I think it's like blue whales or something. They're little satellite fish that eat the bacteria and stuff off the whale, so the whale doesn't get sick.
I see.
Now, this
that's
is-
something I didn't know.
Yeah, now I'm fairly sure that this is it. It's like to prevent infections
Yeah.
and stuff, because obviously whales are very, 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 very large. And
No.
yeah. Keeping the science facts, like, new ones all every week. Stay tuned. Whales
You
are
heard it here
big.
first. Whales, quite large.
But I mean, like, so they'll need little helpers. And the little fish, and I
Little
mean,
helper fish.
yeah, and I mean, the whale probably doesn't even know that the little fish are there.
Probably not. There's
Yeah.
a lot of animals like that in the animal kingdom that kind of have a symbiotic sort of relationship going on. Like birds that live on bigger animals. Like they'll sit on the back of a rhino.
Yeah.
And they'll do that just to get around and stuff like that. And they'll eat insects off their back and
Which
stuff.
would be similar to the satellite fish.
Yeah.
Just kind of keep everything chill. And of course, like, in the documentary that was Finding Nemo.
Yes. Yeah. Great documentary, actually.
Yes, yeah. Some fish even take journeys inside a whale to get to Sydney. It was a documentary.
David Attenborough, I believe, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And Ellen DeGeneres.
I love when they team up. It's great.
It's always got to be good. Going back to actual facts, polar satellites orbits pass over the poles so they can scan the whole Earth as it rotates beneath them. So, like, it's almost like a massive, those, well, obviously not really, but those scanners, those laser scanners?
Yeah.
That's basically what's happening
So it
constantly.
it goes around and it basically creates a scan
Yeah.
as it's moving around.
Yeah, because they're, rather than kind of going around the equator, they'll orbit around the poles instead.
So similar to the orbit of the space station.
Yes, yeah, which I didn't know. And now seems like fairly obvious. But I mean, I suppose we're so learned to believe that the equator is the centre of everything, essentially. Like, it's like it for latitude and longitude it's used, not the festivals.
It's used for them too.
Yeah. But a lot of our world does kind of orientate around the equator rather than the poles. So I think it was by kind of my assumption that we're like, oh yeah, of course the satellite would go around that way, forgetting again that the world is a globe, so it can also go over it. Not just. Then again, if you tilt it, it's still going around. It's always going around it.
It's an interesting one. Like, and there probably is a lot of reasons why they decided to go that way. Like, why the decision was made to do it that way. I'd love to actually maybe go and dig into that a little bit more, find out why exactly that's the orbit they go with.
Definitely, like there must be some kind of reason towards it.
It's not just like they went, lads, what way do we go?
Let's
Over there.
let's go nuts and go against the equator. Make it so mad.
Not even in the opposite direction. We just go
Yeah,
mental. Just like,
yeah. Take that, equator. You think you're so great? Think you're the center of the earth?
oh, yeah. Well, no, it's not really the center.
It's
of
in the
earth.
middle of the earth. It worked with the phrasing, okay? There are more than 20 satellites that make up the global positioning system, so GPS.
Yeah.
And enabling precise positions to be measured at any time. Now, I remember the first GPSs that you got in your car and stuff, and 9 times out of 10 you were in a field.
Yeah.
Like one of my local supermarkets was a field for quite some time, and we were like recalculating. It's like, calm down, just getting some bread. I'm fine. I'm not in a field. I haven't crashed.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Or just be like, oh my goodness, I thought I was at a car park, but I'm in a field. My life is an illusion. But I think GPS has come so far, it's insane. And even you can use offline maps, which has been so amazing for me when I'm traveling.
Can
so
you?
yeah,
I've always just used the same
you can download
Google Maps for everything, though.
on Google Maps. You can download on your phone specific areas. So if you're going abroad and you don't want to be using your data, or you don't want to be running down your mobile, you can it can still, now it's only it still tracks your position, and I think you set it to either only walking distances or only this or only that, and it still tracks you and tells you oh, it'll take this long, or take a left here and all this. It's so amazing and so handy.
That is really cool.
Really, really cool. And I know now we can use your data in the EU.
Yeah.
But well, if you're in the EU, we can use it in the EU. There's no extra fees.
Yeah.
But if you're going further afield to say either even countries in Europe who aren't in the EU, or going to America or anywhere like that and you need maps, you don't need to be using your data. Just download your kind of field, and it can be quite a large one. Like, I've downloaded nearly the entirety of London because I just don't know where I'm going to be going when I go to London.
You downloaded an entire city?
Yeah. And now, like, it expires after a certain amount of days, but 10 out of 10 for anybody travelling to somewhere that they haven't been before. Definitely use it. And you have those satellites to thank.
That's really cool. I like that.
And I'm surprised that it says, like, it's more than 20 satellites. Because, I mean, obviously more than 20 satellites could be up to anything. But, I mean, it's probably under 100 if they're saying it's more than 20. And
yeah, because otherwise they'd say close to 100. Or,
yeah.
So it's probably quite a bit under 100.
Yeah, it could be, like, between 20 and 30 maybe.
Does it still kind of blow your mind, though, the whole, like, GPS thing? That,
like,
you're
Lordy, yes.
single, just lone person on your own, walking around on your phone, you're looking for where to go, and you're basically, your phone's having a chat with this satellite.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit less lonely. Because, you know, especially, again, because, like, me, I travel to Berlin by myself, and I stay with some friends, but during the day I was by myself. But was I really? Had that little satellite minding me, kind of like, don't worry, gal, got you back.
It's so cool.
I know.
It really is.
Also really good for if you lose your phone and your GPS is on or whatever it is. Like, it's so easy now to, like, well, it's harder now to lose your phone.
Yeah.
Like, for it to go 100% off grid, then, you know, something insane has happened to it. So again, like, probably under 30 satellites are doing all that hard work around the entire world.
It's crazy. It's absolutely mad.
Yeah. I suppose it's handier because the world's flat.
Yeah. I really agreed with you there.
I'll get you. There are now more than 2,500 artificial satellites now in orbit around the Earth, which I think is kind of interesting because you hear the term space junk a lot. And I mean, obviously, like, we have landfills, like the Earth itself is filled with junk and rubbish and debris and waste and all this. And then you hear space junk. And I don't think about this phrase a lot, but when you do, and like, it's 2,500 artificial satellites are in orbit around Earth. So is this that it was a satellite and now it's just dead? Like, it's not running anymore and it's just kind of floating about? Or is it, like, I want to learn more about that. Is it considered space junk, or is it still considered a satellite now? Or
That's actually a good question. I think it probably would be considered space junk at that point, because it's just sort of something floating around space that's not really useful to us anymore.
Exactly.
It's just taking up space.
Yeah, hey, taking up space in space.
I'm hilarious, and I don't even know it sometimes.
We're killing it with the puns today. But and this final fact that, I mean, like, I feel like it's gotten to a point where we can't go a show where Orla doesn't mention animals in some shape or form.
Of course.
And if not, I'll just say, like, animals at the end of the show, and I'll just stop just so I can talk about them. In 2012, satellite data showed that there were twice as many emperor penguins in Antarctica than there was previously thought.
Oh, wow.
Good job, penguins. I'm so happy for you, and I'm very sorry that your homes are melting. But I'm really happy that there was more of you there in 2012, and I hope you're all still doing well. Do get in touch with the show if you'd like to. Great interview.
You just start hearing.
Oh, I love the noises they make so much. They're so good.
Incredible animals. Like, when you actually watch like stuff on
really
penguins,
are.
like, just how they work. Like, even in terms of, like, with the parents, where they'll take turns going to get food. So they'll huddle around, keep everybody warm, stay in your pack, and the women will all go looking for food, and then they'll come back, and when they come back, the men go off. And, you know, that kind of thing. It's incredible.
And they propose with rocks.
Do they propose with
when
rocks?
they find their mate? They have a mate for life, and they find a really nice rock that they like, and they give it to the girl penguin.
That's really cute.
It's really, really sweet. And I love it. Well, not necessarily, like, they just give it to the penguin that they love.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love penguins. They're such a clever bunch.
Oh, look at this pretty rock. Imagine it was that simple with people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, diamonds are rocks.
Here, I have this pretty rock.
Yeah. That's what we essentially do. Look at this shiny rock. I got it in metal.
That's true, I suppose.
Yeah,
It is.
We're not too far away.
Oh, we're still animals.
Yeah. Otters do the same too.
Otters made for life, I know that.
Yeah, and they now they don't, as far as I know, they don't propose with their favourite rock, but they have, evolution has given them a special pouch to keep their favourite rock in that they can play with if they want to.
Oh.
They have a little rock pouch or pebble pouch that they can just like literally on their body. It's like like we grow limbs, they have their special pebble pouch.
Oh.
So they can play with it whenever they want, and they have somewhere safe to keep their favourite pebble.
That is like probably the cutest thing I've ever heard.
I love animals.
Pebble pouch.
A little pebble pouch.
Do you ever see those pictures and videos of like otters who like when
Hold
they
hands.
sleep and they'll hold hands so they don't drift apart?
I was about 10 or 11 and I was at an aquarium in Portugal and I saw this. Now, this was before I had seen this online, and I saw these little otters lying on their backs, having a snooze, holding hands, and I nearly died. I was like, Ma'am, look what they're doing. And they're just, I cried. It was just unbearably cute. And then when I was older, I saw this fact that they hold hands so they don't drift apart. And I was like, they do, I saw it in person.
I
And
know
it
this
was,
for a fact.
it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Well, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of
No, it
animals.
was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, admit it.
I've seen a lot of red pandas though. I mean,
They're adorable. They are
they're
adorable.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
We are going to have to get to our interview.
We are indeed.
Definitely.
Sorry, animals.
And I definitely want to get around to our interview.
Yes.
Fascinating. If you guys are into the space stuff, because we talked a little bit about like Sputnik and stuff.
Yeah.
We spoke a little bit about it. But if you're in any way interested in space and stuff like that, stick around. This is a fantastic interview. We had the associate professor from UCD talking to us about Eirsat-1. It's Dr. William O'Connor, and he's fantastic. Like he's really good.
So enthusiastic and so insightful. I learned so much.
So did I. We all, and you all shall too.
Yeah.
So have a listen to this and join us after it. And we are joined now on the line by Dr. William O'Connor, who is the Associate Professor from UCD. Good afternoon, William.
Good afternoon, Sean. How are you?
Really good. And yourself?
Great, thanks. Great.
Good.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
You're very welcome.
Well, you're on to talk to us particularly about Eirsat-1, which is a really interesting project that's going on at the minute out in UCD. I suppose, could you maybe give us a little bit of a background for people who maybe don't know what the whole Eirsat-1 project is?
Okay. So, it's the first Irish satellite, so that's exciting and historic, which is being built in UCD mainly by students. So it's a student-led project. Well, when I say students, these are postgraduate students, mainly people doing masters or doctorates. And it's organised or sponsored in some way by the European Space Agency. So Ireland is a member of the European Space Agency. You'll see the little Irish flag on the side of the ESA rockets and so on. So we're there, and as part of their brief, ESA's brief is education in space, and under this program they assign some of their budget for this. One of their programs is to invite people to put a satellite into space. So we're building the satellite, and the European Space Agency will take it up to the International Space Station and launch it from there. Now, that may sound, I don't know what it sounds like, but to say it's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, it's a very small satellite. It's technically known as a microsatellite or a CubeSat. And this is a change in the space world. Traditionally, satellites were often very big, very expensive, could take 10 or more years of development of big teams. Recently, the tendency is to go for more satellites, but much smaller, and use off-the-shelf commercial components as much as possible. So that makes them cheaper, easier to make, and cheaper to get into space. So our satellite is an example of that. So we're calling it Eirsat-1, E-I-R-S-A-T, which is a slightly clever name. That E-I-R, well, besides being for Ireland, it's also Educational Irish Research Satellite.
Oh, I thought it was just for Ireland. I like that.
Well, it's both.
Yeah.
And we're calling it Eirsat-1 because we're hoping it won't be the last. So we're trying to develop expertise to do more of this in the future.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you you can go on the internet and look up Eirsat-1, EIRSAT-1. There's also Twitter, and you'll find more information, so people who are interested can find out more, and photographs of the students who are involved and so on. Now, so the plan is, well, it's all supervised by a program within ESA called Fly Your Satellite.
Yeah.
So over a year ago, nearly 2 years ago, some people in physics in UCD, the physics department, made a proposal. So the European Space Agency invited people, said, well, we'll put your satellite into space for you. We'll launch it if you do the right thing or what you propose. So a proposal was made and it was accepted. So that's what's got us started. And as I said, that was nearly 2 years ago now. And since then, we've gone through a long, detailed process of designing the satellite. Now, it's got three experiments on board, original experiments, all designed in UCD. And then in addition, it has everything an ordinary satellite needs. I'll just explain. Well, first of all, you may be imagining a big thing. This is all the size of a shoebox, even a small shoebox.
Oh, wow.
Or your litre carton of milk, a little bit bigger, somewhere around that size.
So it is quite small.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would fit in your rucksack if you were carrying it around.
Wow.
Handy.
But if it's small, it also needs everything on board that a bigger satellite would have. So it has to have radio communication. We need to be able to talk to it. It has to have an onboard computer controlling things. It needs power supply, so there's solar panels to get power from the sun and power up to charge up the batteries.
Oh, very good.
It has what's called an attitude control system. Attitude is what the space people use to describe just direction controlling it, because it needs to point in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And that needs a control system. And there are a few other things needed on board. So it's a complicated little piece of machinery. And because it's going up into space, there are all sorts of special requirements on it. And because the European Space Agency is going to kindly take it up in one of their launchers, which is going up to the International Space Station regularly, so they take up food and supplies and oxygen and astronauts they're permanent people living in the International Space Station, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to hitch a ride on one of those service missions, and then the astronauts on board the International Space Station will shoot it out later on. So because they're doing all that for us, the European Space Agency follow everything very, very closely, because they don't want to take anything up to the International Space Station that might give off funny vapors, or
of course, yeah.
the batteries start overheating, or the radio comes on when it shouldn't and interferes, and so on, so on. But also because they're supporting us, so they want to make sure we do it right. So we have the benefit of having all their experts checking everything we're doing as we're going along. So that's where we are at the moment. There are a number of milestones along the way. A few months ago. Yep.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, you mentioned earlier on, I didn't want to stop you in the middle of your flow,
Sure.
But you mentioned earlier on, talking about how it's gone back a bit, but talking about how making this, it was done using kind of more off-the-shelf parts and stuff rather than specialist parts.
Yeah.
Which has got to be fantastic, I say, for people who maybe will be looking to get into this field sort of down the road, or maybe they're at home and they're sort of wanting to kind of play around with it because they know in future this is a field they'd love to get into and love to be kind of a part of, where they know they could actually go and find these parts and possibly they'll get an idea of how to build this kind of stuff themselves.
Sure, yeah. It would... Perhaps the most expensive thing is getting this thing up into space.
Yeah.
But actually, the building part of the satellite, the components that every satellite needs, they are what are available off the shelf. By commercial off the shelf, I mean there's quite a few companies, maybe half a dozen companies certainly around the world who will design or sell you, say the radio communication side of it, the onboard computer side of it, the electrical power control side of it. Those things are on printed circuit boards that you can buy, and then you can put them into your satellite. So typically your satellite might have something special on board, but you still need all these other things which are standard. And so now, when I say cheap, we're not talking small money. I mean, each of those things, well, you can go on the web of the different companies and see they'll even have a price list there. But
we're talking relative, I suppose, in comparison to some of the massive satellites that are up there now. It's relatively inexpensive.
So each of those components might be costing you 10 grand, 15 grand, that sort of money, as opposed to hundreds of grand. Because of the standardization makes it much more economical.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, once it's up there, you obviously there's a particular mission you're aiming for here. There's stuff you're kind of going for. What's the overall goal for Eirsat-1?
Good question. Right. Well, there are 3 experiments on board, which are novel, new, designed in UCD. The first one is to detect what are called cosmic ray bursts. Now, what are they? Well, it turns out that there are bursts of cosmic radiation, which is electromagnetic radiation, coming from very, very far away in the universe, which are very bright over a very short time. So it's like a flash. We say short time, it lasts maybe 10 seconds, 12 seconds, which in astronomical terms is very short. Yeah. And this is very, very powerful radiation, which hits and then goes away. Now, they were only detected first when people went up into space or high altitude, because the atmosphere shields us down below here. And in the physics department in UCD, they've developed a new kind of detector to detect these cosmic ray bursts, which is a special crystal which scintillates, or it produces light when the cosmic rays go through it, and then you detect those flashes of light, the photons of light, and that's the way you detect this cosmic ray burst. And this is a new kind of sensor in that it's lighter, it's low voltage. It's the previous sensors were high voltage vacuum tube type things, which were expensive and awkward. So that's one experiment, detecting cosmic ray bursts. The second experiment is testing out some coatings which were developed by an Irish company called InBio. These are coatings that the European Space Agency is going to use on a satellite to go around the Sun, Solar Explorer. And these coatings are protecting the satellite from the radiation of the sun, so they're heat protection mainly. And obviously they've been fully tested on Earth in ovens and vacuums and so on, but not in space. And the space environment can affect the coating in some way. So we have on board 4 samples of the coatings, 2 black, 2 white, and they are going to test those coatings. So that's the second experiment. And the third, if you're still with me,
absolutely,
which is the one I'm most interested in or most involved in, which is a new way of what's called attitude control, which means we've to control how the satellite is pointed in space. So when it comes out of the International Space Station, it could be tumbling head over heels. So the first thing is to stabilize it, stop it tumbling, and then we want to point it in a certain direction so that we can make the measurements and get the right amount of solar power and so on. And we have a new way of doing that, or calculating what's needed. I don't know you want me to go into details there, but how are we controlling the attitude or direction? Well, that's an interesting story, because there are coils in the satellite. We put current through the coils. That creates a magnetic field, and that interacts with the Earth's magnetic field.
Yeah.
And
Very
that's
good.
how we get turning action, or torque, as it's
Yeah.
called. But we have to work out what current to put in and when. And for that, the calculations are somewhat tricky. So that's what we're working on.
Sorry, just obviously there's going to be an awful lot of data coming back from the satellite. Is it going to be a matter of when it comes back, like if it comes back to Earth, is that how you'll be analysing the data, or is it when it's overhead, or where does the data analysis come in?
Fantastic. Very good. Okay, so yeah, another aspect of this whole thing is building what's called the ground station.
Mm-hmm.
So on the roof of the building, a physics building in UCD, we are going to have a big antenna, which we hope will be picking up the signals from Eirsat-1.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can only start picking up signals when it's over the horizon, so we had to do calculations of how much it's going to be or for how long, and that depends on the orbit. So, and how much data we can get down is determined by how quickly we can get the data and how long we can talk to it, how long it's above the horizon. So we're reckoning about 29 minutes every day.
Oh.
So we have a window when it's above, and our antenna aerial will have to track it, point towards it, and we'll know where it is. And to get the maximum amount of data, we point the antenna towards it, and we hope that'll give us all the information we're looking for.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
And that's, I mean, nearly half an hour a day. I thought it would be kind of every few weeks or something that it'll be passing over, but that's great that it'll be daily.
Yeah, well, the orbit takes about 90 minutes.
Oh.
So it goes the whole way around the world every 90 minutes, so it's going pretty
Wow.
fast.
It's extremely fast.
But that doesn't mean it's over Ireland all the time, because obviously it's... and the orbit is at a funny angle. It's you might imagine it first as going around the equator, but in fact the International Space Station orbit is at quite a sharp angle to the equator. So it goes up fairly near the North Pole and then fairly near the South Pole.
Very good.
So an ours will be doing more or less the same orbit.
Wow. So what kind of speed would that be? Or do you know?
It's of the order of 30,000 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
So pretty fast.
Yeah. You get stopped by a speed camera going that.
Yeah. Don't try that on the M50.
But that's incredible, and so it's essentially, as you said, it's following roughly the orbit that the space station will be following.
That's right.
And you were talking as well a little bit earlier about using, in terms of navigation and stuff, using the Earth's magnetic fields. Or
that's right.
Is that kind of due, in terms of the fact that that's what you're using? Is that just kind of because it's the best source of that, rather, because obviously in space there's no real up or down, so to navigate yourself. So is it kind of like the Earth is just sort of your anchor point essentially?
Well, there are a few reasons for doing it. There are a few ways you could control your attitude, as it's called. One would be to have little rockets or thrusters, so you fire them to move yourself around. But they're heavy. You have to have fuel. You can run out of fuel, and you have to do all sorts of calculations. So because this whole thing is very small, we wanted something that was light and low power. And the coil idea, the magnetic coil idea, means that we can use power which we're getting from the sun through the solar panels, which are charging the batteries, so that you can use electrical power. There are other ways of doing that, things called reaction wheels, where you spin little wheels on board, and the reaction gives you a turning action. But again, there's a weight involvement there, and mechanical rigidity, reliability, and so on. So these are called magnet torquers, which is a compression of magnetic torquers. They're the simplest. Now there are a few problems with them. The amount of turning action is tiny. I mean, think of your compass needle swinging in the Earth's magnetic field. there isn't much turning action going on there, and the needle is very, very light. Our thing is a bit heavier than a compass needle. So the amount you can get of torque you get is very small. That's one problem. And then the Earth's magnetic field, because the orbit is going up near the North Pole and the South Pole in 90 minutes or 45 minutes each, it's changing continually. So that's part of the complication. So it's an interesting problem, but it's the best if you want something that's cheap and light.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that something so small is able to gather so much, like do so many experiments, and is going to be so useful. But as you said, like it's maybe a little bit smaller than a shoebox or bigger than a carton of milk. Like
that's right. But if you think of how much is on your mobile phone,
very good, small, actually. Yeah, I kind of never thought of making that comparison. You're so right.
You have an onboard computer there, and you have apps and all sorts of tricks and so on. So that's the electronic revolution. You get more and more and more into smaller and smaller
tiny
spaces. So we're taking full advantage of that in the satellite design.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm so excited to hear all. Like, I'm definitely going to be keeping up with this one.
Well, it is very exciting.
Yeah. And that's from Ireland.
Everybody is learning an enormous amount.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm learning, and it's the students who are doing the work. I want to emphasize that very much. So there are some older heads like me, staff, who are involved in supervising and guiding a little bit, but they're doing all the real work. The designing and building and testing. And if you go onto Twitter, you'll see photographs of the students working. Some of the times they're wearing funny clothes because they have to go into what's called a clean room. There's a special room. The satellite will be assembled in a clean room where it's minimum dust because dust can cause problems like electrical connections and so on. So there's a controlled environment, a clean room environment, and that means you have to put on special clothes so that the hair or fluff or whatever from your head or from your clothes doesn't add to the dust in the room.
Yeah.
So there are just so many aspects of this whole thing that it's only when you start doing it you realize there's a lot of work and a lot of different kinds of work and different things to be thought about for it all to come together. But it's great fun. It's very exciting to be involved.
It sounds absolutely incredible, to be honest. And as Orla said, kind of proud as well of the fact that we're getting out there. You know, like we've spoken on the show to the likes of David Moore. We've had from Astronomy Ireland on, and he mentioned Eirsat-1 and how the Irish astronomy community and space community, the science community in general, are very excited about what's going on with Eirsat-1 and the fact that
there's quite a large community as well in Ireland for a small island, like.
That's right. And well, there are a number of companies in Ireland involved in different aspects of the space industry or making certain components, certain parts, say for rocket launchers and so on, but and the electronics end and data. But this is the first time that a complete satellite has been designed, built, tested, and operated by a group in Ireland. And part of the purpose is to educate students in this whole area so they can go on and then be employed in the space industry or maybe set up their own space industry because there's now scope for that. So space has now moved on to some extent to more commercial applications of space, so there are companies now getting involved in space as a commercial enterprise, as opposed to in the past it could only be big countries with big economies that could do this. And CubeSats is part of that story. It makes it possible for smaller industries to get involved.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're going to have to wrap up now in a second. I don't want to keep you here all day either, as much as we could talk about this for hours. It's fascinating. But you mentioned as well the Flyer satellite program.
That's right.
So there is a few other nations getting involved with the CubeSat thing as well. Am I right?
Oh, that's right. Yes. And well, our neighbours in the UK, there are programs there. but across Europe, yeah. So we're not the first or the only one by any means. And just to say that the European Space Agency was set up over 50 years ago. They recently had their 50th anniversary, and in their foundation, one of their purposes was education in space, and they take that very seriously. So they allocate a budget for it. A big budget, part of their budget is for education, and so this Fly Your Satellite program is part of that educational purpose or role that ESA is to educate future space scientists.
Amazing. This is so exciting. I love this.
It is. And we'd love to have you on again in the future as we kind of get closer to launch and stuff like that, and just get a bit more information of what's going on. We definitely love to have you back.
Certainly.
Thanks
my pleasure.
so much.
I can do that.
Brilliant. Well, thanks.
Or you could talk to somebody else in the team if you wish.
Yeah, absolutely. We just, as I said, we'd love to just get more information on it and find out everything that's going on. But
very good.
Dr. William O'Connell, sorry, what were you saying? Sorry.
I just got to say, before you wrap up, have a look on the web under Eirsat-1 or on Twitter, and you will get more information there, and so people who are interested can find out more background, things I haven't mentioned or haven't explained properly. They might be able to get a better picture there. So
people can follow what's going on all your social medias. I assume just look for Eirsat-1.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Thanks so much for coming on.
Delighted. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Have a lovely day.
All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And you're very welcome back to Genius Hack. What an amazing interview.
Oh, it was incredible.
It was so interesting.
And sorry, go on.
No, just amazing about how small they can be.
Yeah.
Like, I know you were saying about Sputnik being about the size of a not a baseball, beach ball.
Baseball. That's a small satellite.
It is. But to be the size, somewhere in between a shoebox and a milk carton.
Yeah.
But I suppose, as you said, the amount of technology that's in your phone is...
That's true.
I never put the two together, I suppose, because you never really think of your phone as being a satellite. And it's like, because for me, when I think of a satellite, I think of the space station. Yeah. Which is obviously has to be large because it's housing people.
Well, I remember hearing that, now I don't know exactly how true this is, but you can scale it up and it is true, to where when they landed on the moon,
You got there.
my brain, basically, it took less computing power than there is in your phone. Definitely, I know that's true. I had heard that there was less computing power than there was on a Game Boy.
Oh, wait, that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
maybe.
Now, a Game Boy is pretty old school, basic tech.
Yeah. But then again, you have these teeny tiny graphics on a tiny screen and stuff like that. So it is small. I'd say ratio wise and stuff. I'd say it could be could be true.
It's quite possible.
Because there's moon landing was 69, wasn't it? 69, 79.
60.
And then Game Boy was late 80s, like say, for argument's sake, say 89. So that's 30... 20 years.
When you look at it that way, it does make sense that they could have condensed all that technology down.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. That's kind of a fun fact. I like that.
But it's incredible now that we have so much technology just in a phone or just in these.
You do kind of take it for granted because you have Google in your phone.
Yeah, as we talked about earlier with the facts as well when we were talking about GPS.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I sat there the other day, and we're going to get on to our news now in a second, I promise. I sat there the other day just looking across at the kind of neighbours nearby, the satellite dishes when you get your digital TV satellite dish thing. And looking at it, and I stopped and thought about the fact that the way that's working, that's just taking a signal down from space, hitting the dish, and then the little receiver thing is taking it in. And
it's crazy.
Wow. When you actually stop and think about it, it is nuts.
I love it. It's so cool. It does seem so sciencey and futuristic. Speaking of sciencey and futuristic, right? As we mentioned earlier, we are a big ball floating around in space, and I was quite disappointed by it that we weren't something more fun, like
a disc.
Yeah. But apparently, in 2005, NASA wanted to kind of gauge what's called NEOs. So it's near Earth objects. Yeah. And because, there are asteroids, and due to our atmosphere, it's gonna, if we were to get hit by something, it'll be fiery and fast. Yeah. It's gonna make a big impact. So NASA were kind of like, we've been hit before. Look at the moon. That's been hit a fair few times. Maybe we should start like having a little look at gauging them and trying to judge where they're going to go. And
The moon got hit during the blood moon.
did it?
Did you not see those videos? Those
No.
pictures of astronomers were looking at the blood moon,
Oh
the eclipse, and while they were recording it, you could actually see an impact
Oh,
on the
wow.
moon. Go find those videos. And actually, if you
Definitely.
people listening haven't seen it, go find the video. It's really cool. It's just
That
like a little
sounds
spot goes
amazing.
by and it just hits it. But they're saying
That
that's
was
what it
like an
was.
asteroid
An
or
asteroid
something.
hit it.
Oh my.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
that's-
speak over your point, but I would have forgot.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm really glad you said that. And basically, yeah, they have telescopes on the Earth, and they're super, super powerful, and they're gauging matter that's over 140 meters.
Yeah.
And because that's in a radius of the Earth, and it's just near Earth. It's not going to hit us, but there is always the potential that it will.
Yeah.
And they hoped to have 90% of it detected by 2020. They started it in 2005. They only have about a third of it done, and now the new estimation is that it's going to be in 2034, which it's far long over what they thought
Yeah.
it would take. So what they're doing now is they're pitching. They want more information and to have the ability to put a telescope on a satellite.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're closer to space, you're going to see more and be able to detect more. And they want advice. They want advice based on technology that they can use, and to have that, and it will speed up the process tenfold. And that, we're still not going to meet our 2020 goal because it still has to be made and everything, and they're still in the very, very early stages of it. But they do it is something that's on their minds, and they've been finding in and around 500 NEOs annually.
Wow.
And at the moment, they're up to about 25,000 that are larger than 140 meters. And just because, when I was reading about this, I was just like, what is, I didn't have a point of reference for 140 meters. All I could think of, the 100-meter sprint that you used to do in
Yeah.
school. That was my kind of point of reference.
But that is a good point of reference. If you're talking 140 meters, it's basically think that and then half that again, basically.
So that and a half, really. But in terms of the damage that something like that could do if it was an asteroid and did hit, in 1908, an asteroid that was only 50 meters flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest in Serbia.
When did you say this was?
1908.
In talking in terms of space and stuff, that is recent history.
Yeah, and also statistically, does it mean that we're 111 years closer to the next time something's going to hit us?
I don't think that's how it works.
I
think
every day we get closer to the day that it happens.
because the possibility of these things hitting us are actually so high.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those situations where it's every bit as likely that for 5 days in a row we could be hit by 5 of them a day.
Yeah, that's
as
true.
it is that we could be hit by none of them
For the next million
for
years.
the next million years. It's all complete chance.
Yeah. And just for, again, reference, the 2,000 square kilometres is about the size of New York City. And
Wow.
obviously in 1908 there wasn't as much infrastructure as there is at the moment. There wasn't as much urbanisation or deforestation. So there's less empty land now than there was in
So
1908.
it's actually more dangerous.
Yeah, because they got lucky that it hit a forest. Because asteroids don't exactly say oh wait, no, that's a town just going to scooch
gonna
over a
move
couple
over a bit.
thousand kilometers there,
like, I
so I
just
can hit
wanna
this
land.
forest. Yeah, there's no runway,
I'm just
or
tired.
that is a
I
runway.
need to get
Not
out of
going to
space.
land on it. But yeah, so basically at the moment, after just discovering roughly around a third of them, there's 25,000 near Earth objects that are over 140 meters. So buckle up.
And it's a scary thought in a sense. You have to not let it freak you out. Is basically the way you have to look at it when it comes to near Earth objects, asteroids and stuff like that. Because realistically, it's probably
It's a constant threat.
Yeah, we're more than likely okay.
Yeah.
For the most part, they'll see them
Yeah.
in advance. We'll know.
You have enough time to get home.
Yeah, exactly. And put on the kettle and have one last cup of tea.
Yeah.
But there's a question actually I've always kind of pondered, and I'll put it to you. Situation like that. Let's say we have 'cause Armageddon was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and it's a total guilty pleasure because it's awful, but
There's nothing guilty about it.
it's great.
It's fantastic.
Right, Armageddon type situation. Meteor is going to hit the Earth. Nothing we can do about it. Right. And obviously they did something about it, but let's say in theory, nothing you can do about it. Would you rather know in advance and be able to have those few weeks or whatever it was to kind of go do stuff, or would you rather it just be like bang?
To be honest, either or. I'd be happy either way. Well, not maybe happy isn't the opportune word.
I'd be happy knowing for a few weeks I'm doomed. Yeah.
But I mean, like, because you have the few weeks, you're probably one of the only, you are one of the only people to have ever had that opportunity to know for a fact that the world is about to end. And you're just like, wow, this isn't hypothetical. I can do what I can try and do whatever. And like, you can just not, I was supposed to say go nuts. Like, don't go doing illegal things. Let's not go this far.
That's why I wouldn't want
to
know.
It's not a purge situation kind of thing.
That's part of why I wouldn't want to know, because I don't trust people not to just go, purging.
Yeah. Oh, well, people would. I'm saying I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that would be just it would be panic. It would be a natural, like...
Yeah, you would. You'd go into the zoo and steal all the red pandas.
Oh, I really would. Never mind. I take it all back. Is it illegal if it's for good? Like, I mean, no, I wouldn't steal them. I'd cohabit with them.
You go live in the zoo?
Yeah. Come on, tell me if you thought the world was ending, you wouldn't take the first opportunity you could, because they're not going to care.
No.
Like, they have bigger fish to fry at the moment. So, I mean, like, if some random girl is just like, here, I'm going to go live with the red pandas, it's like, sure, you do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. Like,
will you feed them for me so I can go home?
Yeah, of course I will.
I think I'd rather not know. I think
really?
I'm like that in general when it comes to that whole kind of mortality thing. I think I'd rather not know.
Yeah, that's why I kind of said either or, because on the other side, I this is the rational me who's like, oh, this is all hypothetical. I'm going to go live with the pandas. But realistically,
that's the rational you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, like on the other hand, like if I genuinely was given this information saying like, here, look, you're going to die next Wednesday, I would freak out. I'd say. Well, then again, I'd say I'd freak out and then go into a state of calm, being like, well, nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But then again, also, I would kind of like the bam, you're gone.
Okay. Yeah, no, I
because you just stop. Like, or do you just stop? The real question. Ooh, actually, hang on, here's something. Reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
If the world is completely destroyed, what happens with reincarnation? If every single living thing is destroyed, reincarnation. Do you reincarnate as dust, extra dust? Do you reincarnate in a different universe?
Wow, we just got philosophical here. We just did. This has gone too far in the wrong direction.
Because I'm a big fan of reincarnation. I think that's I think that's a really lovely.
I've done it many times. I'd recommend it.
It's very soothing. No, I think
it's a lovely idea.
Yeah. And like, I kind of open-minded. I'm like, look, I don't know what's out there. Not going to rule everything out.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the fascinating things with science. And I mentioned yesterday, we were doing D15 today, Neil deGrasse Tyson actually talking in an interview about... Actually, I can't remember whether I mentioned this in the show or whether we talked about it off the air.
Oh, but, I think that was off air.
We may have talked about it off the air. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is, if you're listening to this show and you've any interest in science, you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is. He's probably the most famous, or one of the most famous science communicators in the world.
Yeah.
The man is amazing, absolutely incredible. But he was talking on Joe Rogan's podcast a while ago, which is also a fantastic podcast. Go listen to it. But he was talking on that podcast about
after you subscribe to ours.
Exactly. Talking about the idea of God and religion and stuff like that. And of course, he assumed that Neil deGrasse Tyson would have no interest in that stuff whatsoever. I think he's scientific. He's not going to be into that stuff.
Yeah.
And he made a very interesting point, which was that if you're truly scientific as a person, you cannot rule out anything.
Yeah.
Anything like that. You can't say there's no such thing as whatever God it is you want to believe in.
Yeah.
You can't say that because there's no empirical evidence to say it absolutely does not exist. And if you've got a scientific mind, you need evidence.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I thought that was a really interesting point.
That I really liked it because there's no evidence. There's as much evidence as there isn't, kind of thing. And my logic towards it is like, there's no point in putting all your eggs in one basket. Just keep an open mind, and then so if you die and turns out there is a God or Buddha or something, you're like, hey, I knew there was something. I just didn't know which one it was. Ha. Yeah. It's like, congratulations, you won. But if you're out and out atheist and you just don't know anything, oh my God, no, if you don't think there is anything, then it's And then there turns out to be like a god or Buddha or
Like,
Allah or
oh.
whoever it is, and she's like, you got some splaining to do.
It is an interesting idea though, and I think it's one of those things where like I think you look at it like bleak as possible, worst case scenario, there's nothing.
Yeah, and like
But
I
at
mean, if
least-
you're wrong, like if you're wrong and there isn't
If you're
anything
wrong,
at
you'll
all,
never know.
Exactly, you're dead.
You'll never know.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you've had something throughout your life that's helped you get through things. So I've always been one of those people. I'm extremely accepting of anybody and everybody, regardless of what they believe in that sense.
Once you're not hurting anybody or anything like that, then you do you. Whatever makes you happy.
Absolutely. This quickly wasn't the news. It went away from
It
the news.
really quickly
We're
wasn't.
really, really running out of time, and I want to mention one really quick news thing here as well before we go, just because I think this is going to save relationships.
Yeah.
Researchers have managed to create a smart pillow. It's a noise-cancelling, snore-silencing pillow.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. The amount of people who have to put up with partners snoring, who may not have to put up with that anymore.
Yeah. No, I haven't had to deal with that yet. And like even when I shared a room with my sister, she didn't snore. I think I used to talk in my sleep. But yeah, it's going
There
to
you
come in
go.
handy.
We have to go.
Yes.
We have to go. We'll leave you with one last little warning. If you do, this is another news thing. If you happen to pick up a hedgehog at any point, you've been warned against kissing, snuggling, petting, anything like that with a hedgehog because they can spread salmonella. Salmonella. Go read up on that if you're interested in it, because we don't have time to talk about it.
Yes.
We got to go. We will see you next week.
Enjoy the hedgehogs.
But wash your hands after them.
Yes.